Have you ever noticed something strange? The people who look the richest are often the ones worrying the most about money. And the people who look completely ordinary. Sometimes they're the ones who could quit their jobs tomorrow. Every morning, I park my 12-year-old Honda Civic in the same corner of the office parking lot. Nothing special about it. The paint has faded a little. There's a tiny scratch on the rear bumper that I never bothered to fix. Inside, there's an old coffee stain that reminds me of a Monday morning I'd rather forget. When I step out of the car, nobody turns their head. No one says, "Wow." No one asks me what I do for a living. To most people, I'm just another employee trying to get through the week. One afternoon, I walked past the break room and accidentally overheard two coworkers talking. I feel bad for her. Yeah, she's probably struggling. I mean, have you seen the car she drives? I almost laughed, because the truth couldn't have been more different. That old Honda wasn't proof that I was broke. It was one of the biggest reasons I became financially free, but I wasn't always like this. There was a time when I believed success had to be visible. I wanted the luxury apartment, the nicer car, the expensive watch, the designer handbag. I thought if people looked at me and thought, "She's successful," then I'd finally feel successful too. But something always felt missing. Every upgrade made me happy. For a few weeks. Then it became normal. Then I wanted the next thing. The next upgrade, the next symbol of success. It felt like I was running on a treadmill that never stopped. Everything changed when I met someone who quietly rewrote my definition of wealth. He wasn't flashy. He never talked about money. He wore simple clothes. He drove an old Toyota. At first, I assumed he wasn't doing very well financially. Then, one day, I found out he owned several rental properties, had a 7-figure investment portfolio, and could retire whenever he wanted. That's when I realized something. The people who actually become wealthy aren't trying to look wealthy. They're trying to become free. And those are two completely different goals. We've all been taught the same lie. If you're successful, you should look successful. Drive the luxury car, wear the expensive watch, buy designer clothes, live in the expensive neighborhood, post the vacation pictures. Show everyone you've made it. But here's the problem. None of those things make you wealthy. They simply make other people think you're wealthy. Real wealth is invisible. You can't see someone's investment account. You can't see their retirement portfolio. You can't see the house they own outright. You can't see the emergency fund that lets them sleep peacefully every night. The only things people notice are the expensive things. And because of that, millions of people spend their entire lives buying the appearance of wealth instead of building actual wealth. Think about social media. Every day we're shown luxury vacations, sports cars, private jets, designer brands, perfect houses. It creates the illusion that this is what successful people look like. But social media only shows spending. It never shows saving. It never shows investing. Nobody posts a screenshot saying, "Hey everyone, I invested another $1,000 into an index fund today." Because real wealth is boring. And that's exactly why so few people build it. A few years ago, I met two people who completely changed how I think about money. Let's call them Jake and Daniel. Both were 35 years old. Both earned around $180,000 a year. On paper, they looked almost identical, but their lives couldn't have been more different. Jake loved the feeling of looking successful. Every Friday, he met friends at the newest rooftop restaurant in town. Every year, he upgraded his phone. He leased a luxury SUV. He owned expensive watches, designer shoes, luxury sunglasses. His Instagram looked incredible. Vacations in Europe, 5-star hotels, VIP concerts. People looked at Jake and thought, "Wow, he's really made it." Then there was Daniel. Daniel drove a Honda Civic. He wore plain t-shirts. He packed lunch for work. His phone was 4 years old. He didn't care about logos. If something worked, he kept using it. His social media barely existed. Nobody looked at Daniel and thought he was rich. Most people probably assumed the opposite. But here's what nobody could see. Every month, Daniel invested first, before restaurants, before vacations, before shopping, before upgrades. He paid his future before he paid his lifestyle. Jake did the opposite. Every raise became a bigger apartment, a nicer car, more expensive vacations. Lifestyle inflation quietly consumed every extra dollar. 10 years later, Jake still looked successful, but he was buried in payments. Daniel still looked ordinary, but he owned his time. He had enough investments to choose whether he wanted to work. Jake had an impressive lifestyle. Daniel had an impressive net worth. One invested in appearances. The other invested in freedom. And that's when everything finally made sense to me. Money has two jobs. It can either buy status today or freedom tomorrow. Most people unknowingly choose status because status gives you immediate validation. Freedom requires patience, and patience isn't glamorous. There's another reason we fall into this trap. Companies don't sell products anymore. They sell identity. Luxury watches don't just tell time. They tell people you've made it. Luxury cars don't just get you from one place to another. They promise admiration. Designer brands don't just sell clothing. They sell belonging. The moment you understand that, advertising starts losing its power over you. You stop asking, "Can I afford this?" and start asking, "Why do I want this? Is it because it genuinely improves my life, or because I hope someone else notices?" That's a powerful question. Researchers who studied self-made millionaires found something surprising. Most of them didn't drive Ferraris. They didn't own closets full of designer clothes. Many drove Hondas, Toyotas, Fords. Even people worth hundreds of millions of dollars often chose practical cars, not because they couldn't afford luxury, because they understood opportunity cost. Every unnecessary dollar spent today is a dollar that can't grow tomorrow. Imagine two people. One spends $30,000 on a dependable car. The other spends $80,000 on a luxury model. The second person doesn't just spend an extra $50,000. They also lose decades of investment growth. 20 years later, that single decision could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Suddenly, the expensive car isn't just expensive. It's delayed retirement. It's years of financial freedom that quietly disappeared. The same is true for luxury watches, designer clothes, the newest phone every single year. Individually, they don't seem life-changing, but together, over 20 or 30 years, they become the difference between working because you want to and working because you have to. Looking ordinary also gives you advantages most people never think about. People don't expect you to pay for every dinner. You attract fewer scammers. Your friendships become more genuine because people know you instead of your possessions. You negotiate from a stronger position because nobody assumes you have unlimited money. Most importantly, you stop performing. You stop buying things for people who were never thinking about you in the first place. That's incredibly freeing. Tomorrow morning, I'll probably park that same old Honda in the same parking lot. Someone might still assume I'm struggling. Someone might still think they have more money than I do. That's okay, because they don't know what my investment account looks like. They don't know that my future is funded. They don't know that I can walk away from a job I don't love because money no longer controls my choices. The goal was never to impress strangers. The goal was always freedom. Freedom to choose. Freedom to say no. Freedom to sleep peacefully. Freedom to spend time with the people you love instead of spending your life chasing bigger paychecks to support bigger lifestyles. Real wealth isn't loud. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. The richest person in the room is often the one nobody notices, so the next time you're tempted to buy something just to look successful, ask yourself one simple question. Am I buying status, or am I buying freedom? Because at The Uncool Rich, we don't chase status. We chase freedom.